Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's a Wednesday night. What the hell am I doing here? How can I put him in here? I'm doing a watch along of George A. Romero's thought to be lost film, The Amusement Park. Um, so, how's everybody doing out there? Am I coming in okay? Still having issues? Yeah, we'll run with it. How's everybody doing out there? It's a Wednesday night. I think I might try to do something like this on a semi regular basis on Wednesday nights, a little while long. Try to catch up on a lot of stuff that I haven't seen that I need to see. And of course, I've seen the amusement park. I've seen that, of course. But I wanted to give it another watch. It had been a little bit since I last watched it. And I did that. I talked about it when we were talking about the upcoming amusement park comic book that's coming out in a few months. Um, So in talking about it, then I've been wanting to go back and watch it again. So I was like, hey, what the hell? Let's do a watch along Wednesday. I didn't get to do anything over the weekend. Easter weekend had a lot going on. A lot of family stuff, a lot of Easter stuff. The usual. So I didn't really have time to really put anything together. So I figured I'd come on tonight and we'll do a little watch along of the amusement park. Um, and I'll share my thoughts and give my perspective and my takes on it because it's a weird one. It's not for everybody, I totally understand. It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's something really different. It was at a period in George's career, where he was coming off of, Jack's Wife, The Crazies, There's Always Vanilla, and he was just kind of looking for. It was basically a job, a work for hire for George. This is right at the beginning of his relationship with Richard Rubenstein. So this was filmed in '73. So yeah, it's pretty much a little transition period there between Latent Image and Laurel. It's kind of the beginning of his working relationship with Mike Gornick, is featured in the film as one of the characters. But you still see some familiar faces from, like Bill Heisman has a little role in this film. So it's one that I really enjoy. Of course, Lincoln Mizell, the star of the film, I think is fantastic in it because the only thing I'd seen Lincoln in prior was Martin. So I always just knew Lincoln as Tatakuta. So to see him play a different type of role, just a complete 180 from, although he still dresses Colonel Sanders in this one for some reason. I think that may just be Kuta's style. Maybe what he does. Lincoln's style. So it was cool seeing him in a different role, kind of doing something different. Not playing the grouchy Catholic or whatever you want to call him. But yeah, it's one that I remember seeing when it first came out. It was on Shudder, which it's the first place that it was available to be seen. I think it did screen. There were some screenings of it beforehand, but I didn't get to see it until it came out on Shudder. And I liked it from the jump. And the more I watch it, the more I kind of piece it together. The more I see more in it, and what George was going for, and what Walton Cook, the writer who actually wrote the screenplay for this, was going for. So I'm excited to give it another watch tonight. Like I said, it's been a little bit. It's probably been about, I don't know, probably about a year or so, honestly, since the last time I watched this film. But what we got in here to watch this sucker with me tonight? Like I said, it is on Shudder. It's still on Shudder. There are a few different releases here. I have a few releases here to show here in just a second. But what do we got in here? Ed, what's going on, man? Ed Trader Music and Entertainment. I figured you'd be in here, man. I know you were a fan of this movie, so good to see you, sir. So, proud owner of the official Blu-ray. This should be fun. Hello to all. Well, pop the sucker in. Let's watch it. There's Robert. What's going on, man? 90 Robert Harbits the third. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Matt Landrum's in the house. What's going on, Matt? See, Ed saying audio is a tad choppy, picture is good. Well, hopefully it clears up. you know how this microphone is at the beginning. It takes a minute for it to warm up. I feel like before I go live, I should just get up on the microphone and just scream into it for a solid 30 minutes or so to kind of clear all the bugs out. So hopefully it clears up. I don't know, but I'm you know I'm working with what I got here, which is kind of what George did for the amusement park. You gotta just take it at face value. You work with, it's what's what Rhodes says. You work with what you got. I work with what I got. Um, hey, what's up, John? John Vulo in the house says, "Hey, I'm actually going to talk to Gordon about this when I see him Friday to iron out when it was actually shot." Very cool. My understanding was it was shot in '73. Um, Shot in '73, and I think the first and one of the only times it was ever screened or released or whatever you want to call it was '75. At least that's the research I was able to do. Um, but yeah, I definitely try to get a little more information on that because I was always the assumption that it was shot that it was done after the Crazies, but it's possible that it could have been done before the Crazies, but I'm not 100% sure. So, but that's very cool. I'm jealous that you're. I think what are you working? You're doing Chiller, the Chiller Expo or something like that. I think it's on Facebook. That's pretty cool, man. I hope you have a good time with that. John says, I'm also going to ask if he can spot Walton Cook. He's also credited in The Crazies. Walton Cook is in one of the scenes where he's one of the background guys. Just one, in the amusement park, they just have guys, just people, just extras walking around in a circle pretty much a lot of the time. Just kind of give the visual of, that it's a busy amusement park and there's people all over. But from what I understand, he's one of the guys that's just kind of walking around, just kind of as an extra. So I think he was also in The Crazies too. That'd be cool to kind of pin that down. You kind of hit me to something new the other day that, what's his name? John Simpson, was that his name? One of the ghoul in Night of the Living Dead's got, is in his underwear. That's the same guy that plays the mayor in The Crazies. The mayor with the beard and is pleading for sanity. I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome to find that out and to hear that. It's funny, when I first saw The Crazies, I always heard, I'd always see online people would be like, "Oh, George has a cameo in The Crazies. You can see George." So the first time I watched, the first few times I watched Crazies, I wasn't sure where George was in that, because George looks completely different in The Crazies than he does at any point in, most of the time you see him and he's got the beard and all that stuff. Prior, during Late Image, he was pretty clean shaven, but so I wasn't sure. When I first started watching George, I only knew bearded George, beard, So, and I remember hearing rumors that George was in The Crazies. So when I first watched The Crazies, I thought that was George. I thought that was a young George, was the mayor of the town. And it wasn't until a little later that you see him kind of getting out of the car when the soldiers Crazies, rocking The Crazies tonight. But yeah. So I always thought that was George, but turns out it's not. It's and I would have never guessed that it was the fucking ghoul from Night of the Living Dead. So, excellent work, sir. Excellent work. You know what's going on. Good to see Anna. How are you? Says hi, everyone. Glad to have you. John said, I thought it was between Jack's wife and The Crazies, but Gornick said his first job was The Crazies, which was shot in March '72. So yeah, I'm thinking this was after The Crazies. Like I said, I think '73 is when this was actually shot. Because like I said, it was right at the beginning. Because Rubenstein wasn't working with George pre The Crazies, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he was. And Rubenstein was credited as an associate producer. It's middle of the week, guys. It's hump day. But he's credited as an associate producer on the amusement park. So that's why I always assumed it was after The Crazies. But I could be wrong about that. Okay, just helping Jim. Well, hey, that's a hell of a hand to help. You know what I mean? Okay, John Simpson. What's up, Steven? Steven Ustrack Jr. Howdy, campers. He says, looking forward to this. I've never seen this yet, so hope I enjoy it. Your love of this movie has me intrigued if I'll like it or not. Well, like I said at the beginning of, this stream, it's not for everybody. Some people are gonna like it, some people aren't. It's really rough around the edges. It's very low budget. It was shot in 3 days. I think the entire film was shot and done in 3 days. Um, but if you watch it for what it is and kind of take it in, first off, Lincoln Meisel's performance is fantastic. It's awesome to see him doing something other than, outside of Martin. Um, but it's very, to me, I always look at it as it's shot and done very similarly to the opening credit sequence of Jack's Wife, Season of the Witch. It's very experimental. It's very art house. It's a little artsy fartsy. That's the word for it. Um, but I think it's really, really profound in a lot of ways in what it's trying to say and the way that George went about demonstrating. It's almost the story of life. The different phases of life from childhood to, young adulthood, all the way up until old age and the horrors of living in this amusement park, which is basically life. We live in a constant amusement park, if you think about it in that way. Um, I don't know. I really love it. I'm looking forward to watching it and, giving my takes and my thoughts on it tonight. But I hope you enjoy it as well, man. Um, but like I said, if not, it's not for everybody, and I totally understand because it's a pretty fucking out there movie. Now, there are three different versions of this. Well, there's more than three, but I have three different versions of this. Of course, Ed mentioned a minute ago the official release from Shudder, RLJE Films. Not too familiar with them, but in association with Shudder. It's a very good Blu-ray. You can find them for pretty cheap. You can. I've seen them on eBay for 10, 15 bucks. Um, Pretty straight ahead. It's got the slip cover with it. Um, yeah, I mean it's nothing fantastic on it. There is some stuff on here from Michael Felsher, who we just talked about. There's a commentary track with Mike Gornick and Mike Felsher, so that's really really interesting to listen to. It's got some interviews with Suzanne Romero, Bill and Bonnie's Excellent Adventure with Bonnie Heinzman. Because Bonnie Heinzman was the one that kind of came forward and said, hey, we have this film that George shot back in the 70s that nobody's ever seen. And I think this was after George had passed away. She had gone to, I think it was probably Suzanne, and said, hey, we have this film. And then they, Susan, they watched it, and Suzanne thought there was really something there, something really profound. And there's a scene in this film that actually talked to Suzanne about it, Living Dead weekend one year. And she really put it into a different perspective. So when I watch the scene, I think of it completely different now. We'll talk about it when we get there. So Suzanne made the effort to kind of get this out there, to get this a release finally. They partnered with Shudder and Yellow Veil Pictures, and we finally got it. So this is the official release. You can pretty much get anywhere and everywhere. Then I also have this French release that came out before the official release. Released by Kmart, obviously. I don't know, I don't know what the fuck that is, but it looks like Kmart to me. But this is a French release, and this is actually a pretty cool. Comes with a little book, a little booklet. It's got the Blu-ray, and then this one I actually had Suzanne sign when I, as you can see there, actually had her sign it when I met her at Living Dead weekend. And when I was talking to her about it, and just kind of thanking her for making it happen, and super super sweet woman, very cool for her to sign that. And this book is actually pretty cool. There's actually I can't read French or speak French, so it does no good in terms of reading material. But there's some pretty cool photos in here. I was flipping through it before we went live here. Some stuff that I think John would probably find interesting. It's like a Hardman Associates. I don't know what this would be. Just a presentation or something. I'm not sure. There's you can see the original latent image business card there. I wouldn't call that number. I don't think it's still in service. But hey, you never know. Give it a try. John Russo may pick up. You never know. And there's also one of the original. I always like this photo for those of you who've seen the director George Romero. What a look. But yeah, there's an original business card for Laurel in here as well. So I mean, there's some pretty cool photos. A lot of stuff I'd never seen before. some stuff on the winners, some behind the scenes stuff from that. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool little book. Like I said, it's a French release. I don't know how, I don't see these too often, but this was the only way to own it before the official version came out. So pick that up. That one's a cool one. And then I also got this really interesting thing. I think they only made like 50 of these, but it's the big box VHS release of the Amusement Park. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I do like this movie. Um, but it's by Witter Entertainment. And I think they, like I said, I think they only made like 15 of these or 50 of these in existence. Um, but it's got, you know, the big box, like, you know, the old porno back in the day, and clamshell case here. And the tape just looks badass in itself. It's a blue tape, so I don't know. Thought about maybe watching this version on my TV back here, but I was like, I don't know how the logistics of that would work. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's a pretty cool little collector's item, if nothing else. Um, but yeah, so yeah, but the version I'm going to be watching tonight, if you guys want to watch along, if you have Shudder at home, or if you don't own a copy, I'm watching the Shudder version of all the physical releases that I have. Just say I'm just going to watch it on Shudder, because it's just easier for me on my computer to just put it up here and give it a watch. Um, hey, what's up, Garrett? Born to Be Rad is in the house. What's up, man? I hope you're doing well. Everybody go check out Born to Be Rad. It's one of the raddest YouTube channels out there. He covers everything horror, 80s. I mean, the aesthetic. Garrett is a genius when it comes to aesthetic, because I envy that. I envy that more than anything. It's like the color patterns. It's fucking, it's perfect. So everybody go give him a shout. Check him out. If you're not subscribed to Garrett, Born to Be Rad, you will not regret it. Trust me. It's one of the fastest growing YouTube channels out there. I don't know how many subscribers he has now, but it's you're going to the moon, sir. You're going to the moon. But glad to have you, sir. Steven says, I enjoyed Mr. No Legs for what it was, so low budget doesn't frighten me. Okay, all right. Well, you might be all right with this one. You might hang in there. My connection blows. See, Matt says the amusement park always reminds me of those made-for-TV movies that Fulci made that never aired because they were too Fulci. I don't. He did some made-for-TV? Well, not made-for-TV, but I mean, I guess made-for-TV is different over in Italy than it is here. You can be a little more rough around the edges there, but yeah, I mean, it was made for the Lutheran Society. They actually hired them to make the film. As like a PSA, like public service announcement, be nice to old people type of thing. And from what I understand, they had read the script. They were aware of the script that Walton Cook, wrote before they filmed it, and they were cool with it. But I don't think they were really prepared for George's style or the way that George would tackle it. Because I mean, George was a pretty, you got to think, before like Night of the Living Dead and all his feature work that he did previous, he was a pretty accomplished commercial and industrial films director, filmmaker. I mean, he knew what to do. He knew what he was doing when it came to that. But I mentioned this when I was talking about the comic. I just think at this point in George's career, he was just beyond that. Like, he was done doing commercial work and work for hire and stuff like that. He was ready to branch out and experiment and do bigger, better things, and you can see it in this movie. It's a very ambitious, I guess the word for it. It's a very ambitious film for a low budget, PSA work for hire type of thing, and that's why the film never, was shown anywhere, because they saw it and was like, well, what is this? This is a little too, a little more hardcore than we were expecting. But yeah. But yeah, a little too edgy for some people, I suppose. It definitely was back then for the Lutherans, bless their hearts. But now I think because it's a pretty mixed field when it comes to this movie. People either love it, hate it. They're like, eh, it is what it is, blah blah blah. They don't really think too much about it. I think it's like the older crowd that watches it kind of gets way more out of it than the younger crowd because when you're young and you're watching this, like I can totally see like a younger person watching it and just being like, "Oh, what is this? This is some wacky movie about this old guy stumbling around an amusement park for an hour or whatever." Whereas the older you get, the more you're like, oh wow, yeah, life is starting to feel like a fucking roller coaster, and I'm kind of ready to get off. You know what I mean? Like, life just moves faster. It's faster and more just crazy the older you get. It seems like, and then that's kind of what this movie's about. And like I said, the low budget aspect of it and all that definitely probably turns some people off, but I don't know. I'm a fan of it. See, John says that's a latent image ad. It's in the Zombies That Ate Pittsburgh book, I think. Okay. Also, that photo of George is from the Wine of the Fawn investment booklet. That's right. I'd love to see that at the archives. I've seen the screenplay of Wine of the Fawn at the archive. When the time that I was at the archive, I was sitting next to a couple of guys who were there looking at George stuff too, because it was Living Dead weekend. I'm sure they were in town for the convention. And I'm sitting there, I'm reading the old Dawn script. I'm looking through all this, these behind the scenes Polaroids from Martin and all this crazy shit. And these guys are over there. I don't know what they were doing. They were working on something. I don't know, but they had the Wine of the Fawn screenplay, the original screenplay for Wine of the Fawn. So I was like kind of glancing over, just kind of seeing like, oh, what does that look like? Just to see it. And then they got in trouble because as they were looking through it, I noticed they were taking pictures of like every page, which you're not supposed to do. Taking pictures of every page, and then Ben had the guy that is in charge of all that came over and was just like, "Okay, you can't do that. You can take a few pictures, but you can't literally take pictures of every single page of this script." So yeah, I've seen it. I have not read it. I don't know. I don't know too much about it, but maybe on my next trip to the archive, I'll check that out. Dogs are about to get into a fight. Um, you're very welcome, Broski. Broski, I like that one. That doesn't get used enough. Doesn't get used enough. JM, what's going on, JM? Love the amusement park. Bill Heinzman, Cemetery Ghoul, plays the harsh ticket master in the movie. I like the way you put that. The harsh ticket master. Yeah, he's got a nice little cameo in it. Pretty much throughout. And there are also other little touches here, like little music cues and stuff that you may recognize if you're a Dawn of the Dead fan. Some like library music that George obviously used before, used in this before he used in Dawn. Thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. So yeah, we'll get this sucker rolling here. Let me fix my window here, and we'll get it going. And I'll get you guys all set and ready to go. I'll give you the countdown: 3, 2, 1. Press play now, and on now you hit play. So that's how it's gonna work. Let's throw this window. Let's see, view. Oh, I forgot how to do this. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. The Eagles of death metal are neither the Eagles or death metal. Discuss. How the fuck do you do this? Oh Lord. Sorry, I'm trying to remember how to set my computer up here. So again, just talk amongst yourselves while I figure this out. Window, there we go. Let's tile that to the right. I'm a dummy. There we go. Perfect. Oh, gee, I can't see shit. I would love to see. So John says, I would love to see if it has any interesting names in it that may have been forgotten tonight. Kramer Riblet. Is it Riblet or Riblet? I'm gonna say Riblet because Riblet just sounds like a meal at Outback. Was even in a short in Expostulations and was never ID'd as being a knight. Interesting. Yeah, Expostulations is one of those that I know that they're working on. putting together. I don't know if they're going to do some screenings of it, or what what the plan is for that. But I know Ed has seen it. He actually helped uh, donate some financing to getting it worked on, and getting it put together. So um, probably is, Robert. Man's always working. Man's always got something going on. And he's starting his own business and shit. I mean, I don't know how the guy has the time for all this. Hardest working man on YouTube, I swear by God. Um, but all right, if you guys are ready, we'll get this sucker rolling, and we'll watch a little bit of the amusement park. And whatever you guys, chat, if you got any questions or anything you guys want to talk about, you can do that as well. But like I said, we're gonna watch this. I'm gonna give my thoughts as we're watching it, and here we go. So get it ready. Going 3, 2, 1. Press play now. A Shudder exclusive. That's what it says on my end. And now Yellow Veil Pictures, I'm not too familiar with. I've seen their name pop up a couple of times, in some different releases. Let me lower that a little bit. But this is really the main thing that I know them from, so I'm not sure what else that they do. It says an Indie Collect restoration, the 4K digital restoration of the amusement park. Too slow. There's Lincoln. He's 71. This is how old he was, and Lincoln Mizell lived until like the 2010s, I think. Like he was 100 and something years old. Like he lived a long, long life. And like we all know Lincoln as, Cuda and all that, from Romero's stuff, but his son was Lauren Mizell, who's like, I think one of the biggest like orchestra conductors or something like ever, like just one of the biggest in the world. So a lot of talent in the Mizell family for sure. And he's great in this, even just this little, wraparound stuff, which they added because I'm sure the Lutherans would have just seen the film itself and been like, what the fuck was that about? So adding this little wraparound, the beginning and the end here, just having him, talk about aging and kind of, laying it on a little thick to kind of say, this is what this movie's about. I think was probably George's way of trying to make it passable, but it didn't work. Now, this was shot at the Westview Amusement Park, or whatever, in Pittsburgh. It closed down shortly after this was filmed. It was already in pretty bad condition and kind of on the verge of bankruptcy when they were filming here, so it didn't last too much longer after this. Which sucks because it'd been a pretty damn cool location to go to, but it is what it is. And they got Kennywood, so What a gentleman. Yeah, that's it, Robert. 106, died in 2009. 106 years old. Incredible. This dude was in the amusement park for a long time. And I don't really know of anybody that actually ever met him or talked to him. And, as from a fan's point of, I mean, Gornick and all the people that worked with him, but outside of that, I've never heard of any fan interactions with Lincoln, or I've never seen a Lincoln Mizell autograph or anything out there before. Um, so if anybody has that, like Lincoln Mizell autograph or anything, that would be pretty fucking awesome. That would be if anybody would have something like that. I would think it would be like like a Larry or a Blasey or somebody like that. But I don't. I've never seen one, so um, that that may be the rarest Romero related signature that you could get. I think maybe. I mean, maybe Rubenstein, but I think he's done some stuff before. But I think Lincoln might be at the top. Rob says, I think I'm the only one not watching the movie. I'm just watching the live stream. I'm outside and just can't watch it outside. Well, hey, yeah, I'll try to narrate it and kind of roll you through it, I guess. It says, I wonder what the Lutheran Church today would say if they saw this film. That'd be interesting. That would be interesting to see what their reaction would be. Maybe they would finally use it after 55 years or whatever it's been. Fuck, 40 years. 75 to, oh, man. No. 50 years, yeah. 50 years. 75 to, 20, yeah, I'm not doing math right now, guys. Love this opening, too. You got Lincoln battered, beaten, bloody, defeated. And then it's like his younger self walks in the door, all excited and enthusiastic, and it's two very different performances here by the same guy, working off of each other. Sorry, I'm just loving Lincoln's performance here. There's nothing outside. It's interesting the dynamic there that they're portraying, the young and the old. The young, when you're young, you're so full of life and you're ready to tackle the world, ready to take on anything. You got your whole life ahead of you, type of thing. Then you got your older self telling you don't even bother. Like, and that's kind of dark. That's a really dark concept. Like, imagine the old version of you telling you just don't even bother. That'd be that's pretty extreme in a little way. And now he's in the park. Now, if you watch these extras, they just kind of go around in circles. So you'll see the same extra over and over and over again. But it kind of works for the psychedelic aspect of the film, I think. And you see the contrast, like the contrasting, like you got the older people who are this guy. I think he really does walk like that, walking with canes, walkers, wheelchairs. The younger people just flying right by, paying them no attention. And I love, like, none of these people were actors. I think a lot of them were members of the Lutheran Church, actually. We're about to see the cameo from Bill Heinzman here as the evil ticket master, as they put it earlier. You can tell that's Bill too. Unique. He also shot this film too. He was also the cinematographer on this. So I love what they're saying here too. He's sitting there buying the clocks, the different types of clocks, and it's like buying time. Buying yourself time. These old people are trying to buy themselves as much time as possible. How much will you give me for my time, type of thing. I don't know. It's really it's kind of sad because Lincoln. I mean, it's a very physical performance in this film too. Lincoln does a great job, like in the physical performance aspect of it, because he spends a lot of the time, a lot of his time in this movie on the ground. Um, Please note requirements for this ride: must have individual income over $3,500. Okay. Must not suffer from dizziness, high blood pressure, diabetes, etc., etc., etc. I told you it's very much like the beginning of Jack's Wife, Season of the Witch. Um, that's interesting. I didn't know that. The Rolling Stones once played that part. Huh. That's pretty cool. Didn't know that. Robert says I've seen it. I actually like it more than Martin in Season of the Witch. Believe it or not. And interest. That's a hot take. That's a hot take. I could see somebody liking it more than Season of the Witch, but Martin's a hot take. I know you're not a big fan of Martin, so one day I'm gonna turn you on it. Now, could you imagine? Because I think it was a two-camera shoot on this roller coaster. I think Gornick had one, if I remember correctly, as well as Heinzman. You imagine trying to film with those cameras that they had back in the day on a fucking roller coaster, trying to make that make any sense? But again, this film is really indicative and really does a great job showing Romero's editing style and kind of where he was in his career at this time, in terms of being as an editor. Because again, this is one of the few, like the rare films that George directed but didn't write. It's another script, but you can see George's style all over this, in spades. I've always wondered what the two guys there in the black, what are they carrying? Looks like a book or a cigar box or something, but so I'm boarding the train here. And again, I don't know if that's just how Lincoln dressed, with just the all white Colonel Sanders look, but he stuck with it. Um, Not just for this, but for Martin as well. So I'm curious if that's just how he dressed, and he just would come to set and and what he was wearing, and they'd say, "All right, let's shoot." So my interpretation of this, the train sequence here, my interpretation of this is that this is kind of a vacation, in terms of like what it's supposed to represent in terms of your life. Because you got people boarding with golf clubs and typical stuff, suitcase, typical stuff that people would take with them on vacation. So I was just like, this guy's got tennis racket. See, it looks like they're coming back from Hawaii here. The two kids with the leis and the suitcases and stuff. So the train, I guess, is supposed to represent like vacation. Um, my interpretation, at least. Which, like I said, this movie's weird as fuck, and there's a lot of room for interpretation. So And I'm not sure what that gesture is supposed to mean. The buying of the whatever that was. Uh-oh. I think there's something about I think they're supposed to represent something about death, maybe? I'm not sure. Again, it's one of those movies that you got to watch a few times to really kind of figure out or understand. It's one of those movies that George never talked about. I've never heard George talk about it. Um, so there's not really a lot, you know, information out there about what he was going for, what it meant. And I've never really heard anything from Walton Cook either. Like that's kind of a name that I've never heard anything from. So I feel that way when I'm at the eye doctor or something like that. I'm always concerned. Like I hate going to the doctor. Like that's like one of those things that I just refuse to do unless I'm literally dying or I'm missing an arm or something. I'm the older I get, the better I'm gonna have to be about that. But like if I go to the eye doctor or something, I'm always worried that they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, you're going blind," or "Oh, your sight's getting worse. You're gonna need those giant, trifocals or whatever the hell they're called." So now we're in the bumper cars, supposed to represent, just traffic, I guess, which. And then we're gonna see a very young George Romero on screen. There he is. He's gonna play the asshole that causes the accident here with the old folks. Which I almost had a bout of road rage today, as a matter of fact, so I understand it. And that rarely happens for me. Like I'm pretty cool behind the wheel, but George being a complete asshole here. Very, very svelte, George too. It's maybe as thin as I had ever seen him up to this point. He's probably thinner here than he was in night, actually. And people really don't talk about. And I know he didn't do a lot. I'm not saying he was, De Niro or something, but Romero, like George, was a pretty good actor. I mean, yeah, it was his films that he was acting in, so he kind of knew what he wanted and kind of knew what to go for. But there are directors out there that will act in their own films, and you're just like, nah, don't do that. Tarantino comes to mind, like Django and Django Unchained when Tarantino pops up with that horrendous Australian accent or whatever it's supposed to be. That almost just pulled me completely out. But anytime George is on the screen in his films, whether it's this or his, Father Howard and Martin, or even in like his as the TV director or whatever in Dawn, it's very natural. Like he's very good at delivering lines. It doesn't take you out of it or say, "Oh, gee, who crowbarred this in?" So I think George is a pretty guy, especially his scene in Martin. That's one of my favorite scenes in any Romero film is his scene in Martin, and just going back and forth reading him the riot act. It is sad how we can be so dismissive of older people. I'm guilty of that too. I will definitely say that I've been guilty of that as well, especially in my line of work, my job. I work at a lot of retirement homes, and a lot of the time, there's people that are kind of out of it. Um, so it's easy to just kind of ignore it and just kind of. But at the same time, like that's. So I don't know if you guys recognize this little cue of music here, but it's from Dawn of the Dead during one of the shopping sequences in Dawn. Robert says, I think I need to get the 4K of Martin because the DVD didn't look all that good. Well, Martin's another one of those that was shot really low budget, not the greatest film stock. Um, and even the 4K is not, superb, I wouldn't say. It's not a huge upgrade. Um, it's one of those films that really, it's going to look how it's going to look. Um, just because they were using such terrible stock, and it was originally shot with the intent of being in black and white. So a lot of the lighting, some of the scenes, like the lighting, seems a little off, but I think that's just because they were lighting it for black and white, not color. But when they eventually had to release it, they had to, make it color, because I mean, anything released in black and white, most people would just say like, "Oh, I'm not watching this. I have to see color." Like there are people like that. I meet people like that all the time. They're like, "Oh, it's in black and white. I don't want to watch this. I have to see color. Damn it." But yeah, so I mean, it's gonna look how it's gonna look. It said, I was wondering if Lincoln wearing white was on purpose or happenstance, sheep or angel. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. Hmm. That's a good point. Good way to look at it. Also, I think it works for this movie in particular. I think just from a practical aspect, um, it works because as the movie progresses, as the film progresses, he gets beaten and he just gets dirtier and bloodier, and by the end he looks like complete shit. So I think the white suit kind of helps with that too, to kind of portray the dirt and the grime and stuff, and the experience that he just had. This may be one of the like grosser scenes George ever did. Was this the hands dipping the bread into the whatever that is, chili, or I don't know what the hell that was. But now the guy here taking the tickets here behind the booth that's giving Lincoln the groceries. I could have swore when I first watched that's John Amplis. Because if you look, you only kind of see him. You don't really get a good look at him, but to me, he looks just like John Amplis. So I thought that was John the first time I saw it, but I don't think it was. Um, I don't know. He kind of looks like Amplis to me, but I don't know. Come on, help the man with his groceries. Robert says I go back and forth sometimes, but I like Dawn more than Day at this point. Um, Dawn is just becoming more and more comfort food cinema for me. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what Dawn is for me. Will put it the best in the panel discussion at Days of the Dead in Atlanta. He's like, you can just put it on and just kind of curl up and go to sleep. It's like that's a hell of a movie to go to sleep to. John says Jim told me that he actually suggested that music to Suze because I think there was some issue with the soundtrack at that point. Oh, okay. Very cool. Didn't know that. So that makes me wonder what all original audio is in this and what's been added, what's been changed after they found it. Um, that's pretty cool. Didn't know that. Which the audio on this you can tell is pretty rough because they weren't using the best equipment back then. Yeah, I was gonna say that wouldn't fly in today's day and age. You couldn't call a bunch of kids over to start feeding them crackers and peanut butter. People are just gonna automatically assume bad things about you, I reckon. So yeah, at this point, Lincoln's just looking for some kindness. Now he's found this place. Senior Citizens Preferred. Welcome. So maybe he's found his place here. Um, Maybe he's found a spot that he can enjoy. All the old folks going in, the young folks wishing him luck, or whatever you want to call it. This is one of my favorite sequences in the film too. They push him in, and this is maybe some of the most disturbing looking shit George ever filmed. Like this dude, like these exercises, the close ups of these old people. It's disturbing, but I think it's disturbing on a level, like on a certain level, because that's kind of what's waiting for most of us, or all of us. I mean, hell, it's a great shot, that close up there of Lincoln. But yeah, I love the way that it's very experimental, very artsy fartsy, art house. So he doesn't want to be in there either. It's scary because it's like it's hard to really imagine being an old person when you're young. Like right now, like I'm 36. Even it's still hard for me to imagine like, oh, one day like I'm gonna be just like these people, which hopefully I will be, unless tragedy strikes or whatnot. Um, but when you're young, you can't fathom being old, and then and I'm sure when you're old, you're just like, Jesus, how the hell did I get here? How did this happen? So Lincoln's kind of in the middle here. He's not old enough to be where senior citizens are preferred. At the same time, he's too old to hang on the roller coasters with the young folks. Hey, there's John, or not John, Mike Gornick. Still looking for John Amplis, guys. Yeah, very young Michael Gornick and Bonnie Heinzman. And of course, she's, I can't think of her name, but she's in the Jack's wife. It's the witch. A handsome young man Mike Gornick was. So this kind of plays into what I was just talking about, the idea of like this young couple, life ahead of them, young and spry, wanting to see what their future holds, and I don't think they're gonna like what they see. And this scene coming up is the scene that I was talking about earlier, from when I met Suze and we were talking about the film, and she specifically brought up this specific scene as one that really hit her hard. So we're looking into the future, in the year 2000. If you like the amusement park, I suggest the movie Nothing in Common with Jackie Gleason, where he plays an old man going through what Lincoln does here, just not as surreal. Okay. Never seen it. I do like Jackie Gleason, though. So when I met Suze and we were talking about the film, and I was telling her, really loved the film, really enjoyed it, really glad that it's come out and we were able to see it. And she specifically mentioned this scene here, the older lady having to watch, presumably her husband in pain, chronic pain, on his deathbed, and nothing that she can do about it. She's living in a constant state of panic because she can't do anything to help him or let me fix this audio here real quick. But it's just that helpless feeling. And she mentioned that it really hit home, after going through what she went through with George at the end of his life, and just that feeling of helplessness, like wanting to help him, but nothing you just there's no helping them. It's just that's how life goes. It just you're just desperately looking for somebody to help, but there's only so much you can do. So yeah, it really put that in a different perspective for me when I after hearing her and just imagining her going through that same thing with George was really heartbreaking to hear. Um, but that's not that's not out of the ordinary, unfortunately. And I want to pinpoint the editing on this too, like in this scene specifically, with the close up of the crystal ball and the looks on Gornick and Heinzman's faces as they're watching all this unfold, as this is what your future holds, type of thing. Will we still be together? Okay, Marion Greenwald, that's right. The name of the fortune teller here. The old lady also plays a prostitute in The Devil and Sam Silverstein. Okay. I actually have that. I've been meaning to watch that. Maybe I'll do a watch along of that next. Who knows? Um, Robert says, I can't believe it. My wife, of all people, brought it up, but she wants to help us find a way to make it to Living Dead Weekend this year. Hey, perfect. Make it happen, Robert. Love to beat you. Um, it's a good woman you got there. It's a good woman. I'll say that. But yeah, man, I hope that happens because I'd love to finally meet you in person. Sarah Kurtz is her name. Okay, she does a good job in this. I think for a film with like not a lot of like real quote unquote actors, and I mean you can tell like some of the background extras at times will kind of look at the camera or there's just something off about you know. But I think for the most part, I think it gets the point across. Like I said, they shot this in 3 days. Like that's insane. Um, to shoot an hour-long film in 3 days, outside in Pittsburgh, the weather somehow cooperated with them long enough to get it done. Um, it's pretty incredible and a testament to the way George worked at this time. It was just like a cover your ass, run and shoot type of. And now we got the marching band. It looks like this was shot, like this scene here was shot in Braddock or something like that. And I think that because the marching band, of course, the scene in Martin where the marching band's going down the streets of Braddock. Yeah, Gornick didn't like that. Didn't like that. Didn't like it so much that he hits the first person he sees, which is unfortunately poor Lincoln Mizell. So he's down. Nobody's helping him up. It really turns into a really heartbreaking performance from Lincoln here, especially at the end coming up. Um, and now the amusement park is empty all of a sudden. Now coming up is kind of George's first use of a motorcycle gang in a film, and it would kind of be a constant in his films. Of course, in Dawn, there the bike gang. There's the bikers in Martin that are kind of bullying Martin around at that in that one scene. And then of course Night Riders about motorcycles. So here they come. So George had a weird fascination with motorcycles and motorcycle gangs. skee ball. I love skee ball. Hmm. That guy looks familiar. That one biker looks very familiar. I don't think he's one of the bikers from Dawn or anything, but he has a very familiar looking nose, I'll say that. Robert says she's doing it because she loves me. She hates horror movies. Hey, well, maybe she'll turn around on that eventually, but hey, my fiance hates horror movies too, so I'm with you. That's why I come out here to talk to you guys, because she got sick of hearing it. She's like, will you shut the fuck up about this George Romero character? Like, okay. Now the poor fellow is being robbed. Yeah, I can't quite pinpoint who that is. John said, I thought one of those bikers was Larry Vera, but I don't know that stuff that well. There's the long-haired guy with a beard here, but it doesn't quite look like Larry Vera. So I'm not sure. Not sure either. So I think in this shot here, you can actually see Walton Cook. Let's see if I can point him out. But that guy, I think that guy right there in the tank top is a Walton Cook, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, if you notice, you can see that it's the same group of people. Or no, maybe that guy there in the tie, actually. I know it's one of those guys. But if you notice, there's just the same group of people walking in circles around. It's like they're just being shuffled back and forth. Okay, sorry, go back the other way now. Okay, come back. So yeah, Lincoln's looking rough here. There's Bill Heinzman again. John says, I'm not watching, but I'll see if I can get a definitive answer. I'm pretty sure it's in that scene. I think he's the guy with the shirt and tie, if I'm not mistaken. At about 36, 37 minutes into the film. So if you want to go back and check later on. Oh, well, there we go. Robert says, and yes, she's seen Land of the Dead probably 9 times. And she's not a fan of it yet. I don't know if she's seen it 9 times and she's not a fan of it yet. I don't know if she may have her mind made up, but you come upon the salesman. It's not a very good salesman, but you know. John says, also, I think Bob Troe is the guy eating or the waiter during that dinner scene. Okay, going off the top of my head. I'm not sure. Not too sure about that one. Um, Now that guy's got the Colonel Sanders tie on. He should have gave that to. They should. Him and Lincoln should have switched. Switched ties there. Robert says, like me, she loves Pillsbury though. If we're gonna do something, let's do something. We're gonna stand around. We're gonna do something. Yeah, that's a great character. It's one of the best characters in land. I remember seeing it in the theater and got a couple of big laughs. Uh, Sadly, he's no longer with us, though. I think he did some convention appearances back in the day, but I think he passed away a couple of years back. Pedro, I can't think of what his full name is, but love that. Salesman sitting down talking to him, and he looks away. The salesman pulls out fucking clock from his pocket, stealing your time, man. Listen, just sitting there entertaining these people that are just out to get you. It's just wasting your time. They're stealing your time. Hey, what's up, Justin? Justin Moreno in the house. Yo, sir. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Just watching a little Amusement Park, which we're got about what 13 minutes left on this. Yeah, this one's only like 53 minutes long. It's a short film, but uh-oh. It's the freak show. Is this stage where the Rolling Stones once played, Ed? That'd be funny as hell if this was the stage, this little amphitheater here. You know, it's on its surface so silly. It's like, oh, the freaks are old people, the old veterans, and but it's sadly not far off from the truth. Not that they're the real freaks or anything, but that's just kind of how we look at people like that a lot of the times, unfortunately. Rob says, "Where's Synth tonight?" I'm not sure. Not sure where Synth is tonight. I was talking to him yesterday actually, but doing a stream together sometime soon. So hopefully that'll pan out, and doing something with him soon. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's a Wednesday. He's probably not used to me being live on a Wednesday night. So, and knowing him, he's probably doing something else on his YouTube channel or guesting on somebody else. I'm telling you, if Garrett's not the hardest working man on YouTube, Synth is. Synth will show up. I think what Saturday he texted me. He said he just got done doing 2-3 hour live streams on 2 different channels. I was like, Jesus, dude. Church is closed for a smoke break. Oh, I didn't know that. Nothing in Common, very good movie. Also, Jackie Gleason's final movie. Didn't know that it was his final movie. What year was that? I don't remember when Jackie Gleason died. I love Jackie Gleason in The Hustler. That's probably my favorite. That's one of my just favorite movies. Um, that's probably my favorite Gleason performance. Minnesota Fats. Isn't that Jackie Gleason? I'm pretty sure it's Jackie Gleason. I get him and who's the other dude mixed up sometimes. I can think of who the fucking guy is. But 2 completely different people, but the names I get mixed up sometimes. John says, yeah, Bob Trow is the waiter. Bob, okay, cool. Bob was the goofy detective in Jack's Wife and the silly ad guy in Vanilla. Also the Devil's Son and Sam Silverstein. Okay, very cool. I'll have to go back and look at that for comparison's sake. Because Goofy Detective and Jack Swipe, I'll have to go back and check that out again. I need to go back and watch that anyway. Silly Ad Guy and Vanilla, I know exactly what you're talking about. Now I can definitely picture that as, him being the waiter. So yeah, as you can see, like Lincoln's suit is now just completely looks like he's been run over by a bus or something at this point. Now this scene here, maybe one of my all-time favorite scenes in any Romero film. Like when I first watched this, when it was first came out on Shudder, first day it came out. I remember watching this and was just like, wow, this is really weird. It's cool. It's cool seeing Bill Heinzman and Lincoln Mizell and all these familiar faces. And like I said, it plays just like the opening of Jack's Wife. It's very psychedelic, very experimental. Even sound wise is very similar. But when it got to this point, like this scene here is like where it takes, I don't know, it's a perfect finale to me. Because all of a sudden, this little music here, and all of a sudden, this little girl is sitting there with this book. And she's the only one in the park who is interested in his company. Finally, after all this time. So I'm just gonna take this scene in real quick. She offers him some chicken, which I pointed out when I was talking about it a couple weeks ago. It's like it's kind of funny. He's dressed like Colonel Sanders, and he gets a chicken leg of all things. There's something really heartbreaking the way that she looks at him while he's reading a book. Like she doesn't look at him as like an old man to be discarded. She's just like, read this book, you know? Read this book to me, sir. And then it turns sour here, and this is heartbreaking. Now it's time to go, and he's desperately just wants to finish the book. Just wants to finish reading her the book. God, that's good shit. It gives me chills. Watching Lincoln just break down like that, you feel that pain, And again, it's Lincoln Mizell. Like I said, when I first saw this, all I knew him from, was from Martin as Cuda. Him playing a completely different type of role in this it just threw me for a loop. It was like I said, it was like seeing Tom Savini cry in Night Riders for the first time. You're just like, wow, Savini's fucking bawling here. Just heartbreaking. That gets me every time. Good shit. It's saying I agree. When they took the girl away was the scene of the movie. It really drives the point in. Absolutely. And again, it's like it's why like grandparents and stuff. It's like their grandkids are everything, and because it's like when sometimes the grandkids are the only ones interested in the grandparents' companies, unfortunately. And then I don't know, man. Getting old is really depressing. It's really sad to think about. This movie doesn't help make me feel any better, I'll tell you that. Now he's back in the White Room, and we're back where we started, which is the circle of life. There. So now it brings us full circle. And the cycle will just continue here. There's nothing outside. I mean, I can totally see why the Lutherans were maybe, because it's very cynical. Not just about how like senior citizens are treated, but it's just like life in and of itself. Um, it's just an endless cycle. And that's kind of where the movie ends. But then there's a little wraparound scene here, which actually has one of my favorite lines from this movie. It's when Lincoln says, he says it here in a second, but it's like, I'll see you in the park someday. Can you imagine like a church or something showing this to the regular church crowd on a Sunday night or something like that? Which I mean, the whole point of this was to raise awareness for the way that senior citizens are mistreated, and there's they don't get proper housing and proper income, and they're not we don't take care of our senior citizens the way that we should in this country. Is kind of the point of this, I guess. And unfortunately, not a lot has changed. Not a lot has changed. 50 years later, it's a lot of the same problems that they were dealing with back then. I mean, I'll see you in the park someday. And that is the amusement park. S. William Heinzman, cinematography. Richard Rubenstein, associate producer. It's Mike Gornick, sound and additional photography. Oh. Oh, now it's taking me to Night of the Living Dead. I forgot I was watching this on Shudder. So now it's just on like it's gonna take me to the next thing, but yeah, there it is, the amusement park. 1975, filmed in 73. I'd knock that off there. And didn't see a release until what, 2020? It was during COVID, I think, when this came out on Shudder. So yeah, 2020, I think. Um, but yeah, I think it's great. It's not something you want to pop in and just have a good time. You don't want to watch with your friends or something like that. But I do love that film. I think it's a very profound film, and I think it just shows, again, like it goes back to George, that time in his life where he was coming off of, Night of the Living Dead. He's like, okay, I got this under my belt, but then it's like failure after failure after failure, and he was at that point where he was at the beginning of his relationship with Rubenstein, and they were trying to figure out where George's career was going to go from here. Like I said, it was kind of a work for hire thing, but you can see like George had just kind of outgrown that work for hire thing at this point. You know what I mean? Like he was ready to branch out, and he had a lot to say, and he had um, a lot he wanted to do with his filmmaking. Um, but you can definitely see it here. You can see a lot of George's style, the editing, the sound editing, especially. Um, so yeah, I don't know, I'm a fan. What do you guys think? You guys fans of the amusement park? And I'm looking forward to the comic book too. When that comic book comes out, I'm definitely going to get that because I'm a big enough fan of this movie. And like I said, I'm not a big comic book guy. Never been a big comic book guy. Um, But like when the comic comes out, I'll definitely pick it up. I don't know how much it'll be. It can't be too damn much, but definitely be worth having it. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I do have quite a few copies of the Amusement Park here. But John says, "Oops, it's Virginia Greenwald. Marion was her name in Jack's wife." Okay, there we go. That sounds right. Virginia Greenwald. Um, let me see. I had a couple comments here I think I skipped over. I think Robert was asking if it's okay for me to ask what does Synth do for a living. I'm not sure. I don't know what he does for a living, to be honest with you. And I know he does a lot of traveling and a lot of live streaming around the West Coast. But yeah, I don't know. I've never asked him what he does for a living. As a matter of fact, Nothing in Common came out in '86. '86. Okay, very cool. Steven says also love Jackie and Smokey and the Bandit. Oh yeah, of course, Smokey and the Bandit. I just love the Hustler. Just the fucking. I love movies about pool, like billiards. The Hustler and Color of Money, and so I grew up playing pool. I grew up in a bowling alley, so I always grew up playing pool. And you get older and you start going to bars and stuff, and that's kind of one of the go-to things if I'm going to a bar is like, does it have a pool table? Does it have a jukebox? All right, if I can play some pool and I can control the music, like I'm there. That's my kind of place. See, Robert says I'm a comic book guy, and I definitely want this comic book. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be interesting because it's gonna be something completely different. Because when we showed the preview, the samples that they've recently put out, the beginning is completely different. I think it's gonna expand on it a little bit and kind of maybe bring a little, maybe round out the edges just a little more, because you have the time and the ability. That's the thing when you're making a film. There's so much out of your control, but when you're illustrating a comic book or writing a book or anything, I mean, you can pretty much go wherever your imagination takes you, type of thing. So I'm interested in reading it. I'm interested in checking it out. I think it'd be it's a cool little collector's item for sure. Hey, what's up, Paul? Paul Farber, everybody. What's going on, man? Good evening. At work right now, folding shop towels, and thought I'd say hello. Well, what's going on, man? I'm glad you're joining me on your work night here. Yeah, Wednesday night. It's a little different, but I've been thinking about maybe doing some more stuff during the middle of the week. And I kind of like the idea of, maybe like a Wednesday night live stream, just like a watch along every Wednesday night, or maybe not, but as many Wednesday nights as we can get to. There's a lot I need to catch up on, movie wise. There's a lot of Romero related, Romero adjacent films, I'll say, that I need to catch up on and finally watch. So yeah, maybe we'll make this an ongoing thing, just a little midweek stream. Then, like I said, planning on doing a bigger stream, not a bigger stream, but just kind of the mainstream this weekend, doing something this weekend, and then next weekend, May the 3rd, I'm going to have Jace Whitman on the channel for the first time for another edition of Collecting the Dead. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Jace Whitman, check him out on YouTube. Music and Monsters is the name of his channel, and he does Thursday of the Dead. I always want to call it Dawn of the Dead Thursday because that's what it used to be, but it's Thursday of the Dead now. Every Thursday, it's very digestible videos of him opening something new that he got or showing off parts of his collection, whether it's Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Lucio Fulci. I mean, and like I said, it's digestible. Like I watch it like every Thursday. I'll watch the episode on like a smoke break or something at work. But check it out. Music and Monsters is the name of the YouTube channel, and Jace will be joining me May the 3rd, I believe. It's the fall, not this upcoming Saturday, but the following Saturday. For another edition of Collecting the Dead, and this one would be really, really good because I mean, in terms of collections, like Jace may have one of the more impressive collections out there. So I'm really curious and really interested to see what he's got to bring out and show us. And he's also done a screening or hosted a screening of Dawn of the Dead before, so he's actually been in contact and actually worked out deals with Richard Rubenstein and shit before. So I'm interested in talking to him about that, see how that went, what that was like. But yeah, so that's what's coming up, and then of course, Living Dead weekend. Is a little over a month away now. Like it's going to be here before we know it. So that's good. It's going to start getting a little bit. This is kind of busy season around Living Dead weekend time. So it's going to be getting a little busier on the channel coming up over the next few weeks or the next month and a half, 2 months or so. Drop my pen. Robert says, I just hope it's not woke. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I don't really know what they. I mean, I guess there are ways that they could make it, more woke or politically correct or whatever. But I don't really know what else they could really do with it to really take it that direction. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what's in store with it. But yeah, that's the amusement park. Love it. I think it's a very profound film for a filmmaker, especially a young filmmaker, to kind of visualize it and put it into the perspective that he was going for. And I think I think it works for me. Like I said, it's not for everybody. I think that's a lot of the backlash from, because it comes out on Shudder, which is like, oh, it's horror, but it's not really a horror. I mean, it's a horrendous, horrifying movie for sure. Just because of the content and what it's about. But there's no body count in it. There's no gore or anything like that. When you see George Romero's name above a movie, for most mainstream, normal horror fans, they're gonna think like, oh wow, what is this? Some slasher at an amusement park or something like that. I'm sure that's what they thought, but it's something completely different. But I love it, and I'm really, really glad that it came out, and I'm glad that we have that now to add to George's filmography for sure. Robert says, you said it was music and monsters. Nothing came up when I just looked for it. You should be able to find it pretty easy, unless it's like music and monsters. Let me look real quick. Let me go to my page. So, let's see, subs. Yeah, music and monsters. Let me see what the it's at music, uppercase M, lowercase and uppercase M monsters. I don't guess it matters if it's uppercase, lowercase, but it's at music and monsters on YouTube. I'll post the link. I'll post the link on the community page or something like that here soon. You guys can check it out. But yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna hop off here. I'll see you guys again this weekend. Looking forward to it, and we'll just kind of chop it up, talk about some of the news, some new guest announcements for Living Dead weekend have been made. Some updated looks at some different stuff we've talked about here recently, and just kind of open it up. I don't know. Like I said, I usually don't know what the fuck I'm going to talk about until like a day or so before I decide to do the stream. So who knows? I may come up with something fun between now and then. But appreciate you guys as always. Have a good rest of the week. Hope you guys have a good rest of the night. And always stay scared.